So it's been a day or two since I recorded my last movie. I did figure out my misunderstanding here. It had to do with scope. It's best demonstrated with Firefox. If we go into we'll reload here, and I've got a debugger set up when we add person. It's going to go into new. If we look at this .sources, you'll see that we have comp person as one of the sources. Now if we click play, add a person, save, you'll see that this .sources is now undefined, and that's because we're within the context of the save button now. So if we go back to Wakanda, and if you look up in the component declaration, there's a local variable that's defined called $comp, and it basically just takes on the current component, and that's a way to reference the component regardless of whether you're in the scope of a button or elsewhere. So it's an easy fix. $comp.sources.comp person, and the same up in the save. We'll save that, go to Firefox, reload, add a person, and you'll see $comp sources has comp person, and we'll click play, do a test person, and you'll see that still we have the same sources. So that fixes the issue. You can see it assembled the full name there. And just to prove that we are getting the person, go to tests here. We'll just do, we should have the person with that we just put in here when we hit play. There they are, full name, last name, first name. So there, we're past that. Now we can move on to the next task. So next task, let's first take those debuggers out of there, seeing as we don't need them anymore. Now when we're done saving, I'm not going to go through. I guess what I want to do is in some way keep these dashboard lists up to date. Now you'd probably have to get a little fancier than what I'm going to do. You know, when you create a new one, maybe you want it updating on the fly, but I'm just going to update on save. So in the save on success, so once it's saved, I am going to, that one is the data class that list is derived from is person. It's outside of the component that was created when we made the tab interface. So I can just go sources.person. Actually, that's not going to be 100% right. Maybe it is. We'll give it a try. Sources.person.all. You know, maybe you would do something a little more elegant, because this is just going to basically bring everybody in, but it'll suffice for this example. So let's go back to Firefox. We'll compress this, refresh. So there's the one person. Let's add a new person, and I have to figure out why these are coming in. Bill Hardy. Save. If we go back to the dashboard, Bill's there now. I should actually change that to full name so we can see both. Go to index. There it is there. Let's put the full name first. Save. Refresh. Okay, so Bill's in there. So for some reason I'm not getting a new element, it's overwriting. See how it's bringing in Bill? That I was expecting to create a new contact, which was the whole point of add new element. So I need to figure out what's what I'm misunderstanding about this right here. So let me just take a quick second and figure this out. Okay, so I figured out what's happening. I don't know how to solve it just yet, but basically what's happening is it's creating the new element prior to I guess the data source being initialized, it looks like. And I'll demonstrate that to you. If I comment out this first debugger and it just goes straight to adding a new element. I'll save that. We'll go to Firefox, refresh. You'll see when I add a new person, we've already created the new element and Bill Hardy's still in the current entity position. If we add this debugger, which is essentially just going to cause a delay, save it, go back to Firefox, reload, add a person. So now we've had a bit of a delay. If I step through this, you can see here the length was 1, and last time we were at the debugger I didn't point it out, but it was also length 1. So we step over, and now we get the new entity. And this will probably work fine. I would think we'll be able to add a new person here without a problem. If we go back to the dashboard, now we have 2 people. So I've got to figure out what the mechanism is for that data source initializing itself and only do this function after it's been fully initialized. Okay, so I'm going to use a listener to get around this here. So instead of calling it immediately on load, what we're going to do is set a listener in place. So we'll put in here $comp.sources.comp person dot add listener, and what this will do is listen for the event we specify here, so on current element change. So when current element change fires, we will fire the function make new person. Right. Okay, so then before we do anything, we want to declare that function here. I'm thinking make new person. And when we get into this function, the first thing we want to do is remove that listener. So $comp.sources. Hold on. Now before we can remove a listener, we have to actually know which listener. So down here we're going to put var listener ID equals. So this will return the ID of the listener. So then we comp.sources.remove listener, and the one we want to remove is in listener ID, which we just created. So the way you do that, you pass an object with parameters ID, which is listener ID. So what it's doing is on load, it's going to immediately set up, reduce this a bit, it's going to immediately set up a listener on the current element change, and it's going to fire the function make new person when it finds that. And we can take this existing code and put that into the listener function. So it fires on load. First thing it does, it sets up a listener for when the current element in this data source changes, which will happen almost instantly. As soon as that happens, we're going to remove it because it's a one-time thing, and then we're going to add the new element. This isn't going to be required for the, oh, maybe it will be required for an existing one. We'll find out, because if it is, then we'll make this more generic. Anyways, let's make sure this works. So we'll save that. Let's go back to Firefox, reload, add a person. There we go. We've got a fresh person. You saw a little flash of, it doesn't look like it's saving properly anymore. Add person. No, now we've got a problem with saving. So let me take a look at this. And I see it. I made a mistake here. $comp.sources. Oh no, that's not. Sorry, we need to reference the parent source here for the person all. Let's just comment that out and see if it works, so we know that that's the problem. Refresh. Add person. New person. And that doesn't appear to fix it either, so that's not the problem. Because you can see they didn't show up there, so we've got to figure out why this isn't saving anymore. So one problem here is a typo. It's listener. So then it gets the proper ID here. So let's see if that fixed it. Refresh. Okay, so refresh, add person. Nope. Let's see what other problems we could have. Here's another issue, is we've got, I forgot to put in here comp person. So I removed the listener. You have to press the actual source. Let's see if that fixes it. Make sure I'm saved. Yep. Refresh. Add person. There we go. Now if we go back to the dashboard, reload, there's the new person. So let's try getting that to refresh itself. We'll bring this back in, person all, save it, reload, add a new person, fourth person, save, back to dashboard, there's fourth person there. So that's working now. Okay, so we've got adding a person. Next thing we're going to do is whip through the other ones and bring them up to this level. Or actually, let's finish person completely. So I think we've got new person working fine. What about an existing person? So let's go back to Waconda, to the index page. And we're going to look in the add person button, events on click. And we're going to, so we've got add tab person 0. And you'll remember that function. So now we're going to go to index to this grid and on row events. I thought there was a double click. Well, let's change the interface a little bit here. Move these up a bit. and we'll put a modify button under each.